Happy Thursday, everybody. I watched a video this morning from the Bulwark, from their takes feed. You can see these at thebulwark.com on their website and their YouTube page. If you're a subscriber, everybody should subscribe to the Bulwark. Tim Miller put up a 15-minute video yesterday talking about Scott Bessent. He is our Treasury Secretary. And the video is titled, Scott Bessent is Losing It. It was earlier this week. Scott Bessent made some comments. He was on the Charlie Kirk show. It has different hosts now, obviously. And he spoke about how the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a domestic 9/11 moment, meaning 9/11 was foreign terrorists and the assassination of Charlie Kirk was domestic terrorists. And he talked about using a 9/11 style approach by the Treasury Department to go after the left and go after groups on the left and the funders of terror networks on the left and go after their financing. And he was talking about who financed Charlie Kirk's killer. There's no evidence that he was anything other than a lone actor. They have not been able to tie him to any political affiliation whatsoever. There's no evidence that he was connected to any left-wing groups in the United States. There's no evidence of a conspiracy or a plot or anything like that. But the Treasury Secretary of the United States spoke about using the full power of the Treasury Department to go after groups on the left in a 9/11 style approach. And Tim made the point that Scott Bessent was supposed to be like the adult in the room. He's a Wall Street guy. He's worth $600 or $700 million. He's supposed to be one of the responsible adults, and now he's out here talking like this. He said that these groups all have the same lasers that they use to blind our police officers. Huh? That they have lots of money, there's lots of organizing, and the Treasury Department is going to unravel it and root out these networks. We will take down those responsible for funding Charlie Kirk's killer. Nobody funded Charlie Kirk's killer. He got the gun from his grandpa. It was a gift. There's no evidence of any connection whatsoever. But he talked about doing a 9/11 style campaign against the left. And then he went on further to make some comments about, denigrating the No Kings protests coming up this Saturday. And I guess referring to the government shutdown, he said no kings equals no paychecks. So if government employees want to get paid, we have to have an authoritarian dictator in place, a monarch of some type. And there were a few things. First of all, this ties directly into Donald Trump's National Security Memo number 7. It ties into Trump's memo designating Antifa as a domestic terror organization. It ties into the rhetoric that Trump and Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, Kash Patel, Tom Homan have been using lately when it comes to speaking about the left, and specifically when it comes to speaking about the No Kings protests this coming Saturday. Mike Johnson said last Friday, the left has a Hate America rally that's scheduled for October 18th on the National Mall in D.C. It's the pro-Hamas wing and Antifa people. And House Majority Whip Tom Emmer, he's the third highest ranking Republican in the House. He also said that it's a Hate America rally and that Democrats are putting on this Hate America rally to appease the terrorist wing of the Democratic Party in the United States. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem recently said that Antifa, which has been designated as a domestic terror organization, it doesn't exist, is just as dangerous as ISIS in the Middle East. And so, again, it's like all of this stuff that Scott Bessent said supposed to be one of the adults in the room, one of the reasonable people in this administration, it fits perfectly within the context of all of this shit. What is the psychology of someone like Scott Bessent? He's worth $600 or $700 million. What is he doing? What is he even doing? Is being Treasury Secretary that important to him? He doesn't believe this shit. He doesn't believe this stuff. He doesn't believe that there is a terror network in the United States that is on par with al-Qaeda that pulled off 9/11 with funding from Saudi Arabia. Scott Bessent loves Saudi Arabia. I just wonder about any deals that are being made behind the scenes, but it's like, with him using this specific language and referring specifically to 9/11, and I've said this in videos before, think about what this country did in response to 9/11. We passed the Patriot Act, a bipartisan effort to eradicate people's civil liberties in this country. The NSA conducted all kinds of illegal surveillance on Americans inside the United States. We set up a global network of CIA black sites where we would rendition suspected Middle Eastern terrorists. We would kidnap them and take them to these black sites and torture them and waterboard them, because George W. Bush's administration had a memo saying that torture was now enhanced interrogations. And we threw people in Guantanamo Bay for decades without charges, without indictments, without trials, without any due process whatsoever. It's hard to, and now Scott Bessent is incorporating that. That's the new thing that he added this week, referring specifically to 9/11 and foreign terror networks, and saying that those same type of terror networks exist in the United States, and they're comprised of Americans, and they're domestic terrorist networks on the left. And he's going to use the full power of the United States Treasury to go after these groups, to go after their financing, to go after the funders, because he said that these groups funded Charlie Kirk's killer. There is absolutely zero evidence of any of that. None. None. There's no evidence that he was a Democrat. There's no evidence that he was a Republican. There's no evidence that he was tied to any left-wing organizations. There's no evidence that any left-wing organizations provided him with any kind of funding or financial support. There's none. He didn't need any. He got the gun for free. Ammo's not that expensive. He drove his car to the campus where some left-wing undercover group didn't pick him up and drive him 2 hours to the campus where he shot Charlie Kirk. He drove his own car. And again, man, it's like I've been getting accused quite a bit this week of fear-mongering relative to these protests that are coming up on Saturday. I'm going to protest loudly and proudly. But we need to be aware, being aware of what this administration's officials are saying and doing, and repeating the words of elected Republicans, designating all of us as domestic terrorists, is not fear-mongering. It's simply behaving in a reasonable manner and being informed. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent ramped all of this up dramatically in the statements that he made this week, in horrific, unhinged, delusional, fact-free ways. There's no evidence at all for any of the things that he said. The things that he said that he is going to use as a basis for using the full power of the United States Treasury Department to go after groups on the left. There's zero evidence supporting anything that he said, but he's going to do it anyway. And they're going to use the IRS to do it, to do this stuff as well.